Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Streamrolled. We're going to be picking up from where we left off last week with our three intrepid adventurers trapped in a hole between a very large bird and an even larger spider. What their intention is and how they intend to get out of this rather dire situation, I'm not aware of at the moment. But let's jump over to them and we will have a look just to see just how bad things can get.
Well, it's not, the accommodations I'm used to, but we've got a big pool of beer and each other, and I'm not being eaten by a giant spider. So look on the bright side, everyone, and grab another mug of beer.
I would look on the bright side, but there's no light in here. It's kind of dark in here. Aside from the torches
Oh,
and the glowing
sorry.
ball of light.
I can see in the dark, so I'm always I always forget that you humans can't see properly in the dark. You're so feeble in a lot of ways, aren't you? Despite how tall you are.
Very
Anyway, have
flattering.
another beer. Ishmael, are you awake?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm guessing it's morning now. We're having a morning pint.
Well, it'll go bad if we leave it out for too much longer.
Oh,
it's starting to go a little sour, but it's still drinkable.
You can't have beer going bad. Oh yeah. Let me have a little tipple then.
Yeah, Rashida, if you're not gonna drink,
No, I'll drink. Anything
you
to forget
reckon?
the mess.
Well, quite.
Yeah, let's get completely plastered and then stumble our way sneakily past this rock.
I mean, if we drink enough, we're not gonna feel much when they end us.
Well, I figure it'll only want to eat one of you.
Alright, so whoever's slowest then. Which bottom?
Well, no, nothing wants to eat dwarves. We're tough and gristly and
So you mean it'll
hard
chew
to
on
swallow.
you for a bit, letting us the others two get away?
Well, you know what? If that's the way it goes down, then I'll be glad to have given my life in defense of you puny humans.
An honorable gentleman, certainly.
Anyway, do you reckon that rock's gone off hunting yet?
I
Can
guess
you
we
hear
could
it?
take a peek outside, couldn't we? I'm gonna climb the stairs and just sort of like poke my head through the trap door.
Okay, so looking out over the area, the rock is certainly still there. However, the rock seems to have nestled down with its head looking away from where you are now, and it does, for all intents and purposes, seem to be sleeping.
Work my way back down then. Just appears to be sleeping. It's not facing us, but I don't know how touchy they are when they're woken up and how sensitive they are to be woken up.
Well, yes, no, I've not got much experience myself, but I'm not really eager to find out. But I'm also not really eager to spend any more time down in this cave than we really have to. That spider being just next door is making me nervous.
There's nothing left for us down here.
No. Although we did manage to drag through some of these supplies. I mean, do we want to take some of this with us, or do we want to just try travel light so we don't disturb the rock?
Oh, what do we have here? I can't quite recall. We got some cloaks, right? Some netting. What else do we
warm
have?
weather clothes, some nets, and some rope.
I think we should be all right. Putting most of this
do...
on.
Exactly. Just tie the rope around our waist or something. Wrap ourselves around in the net. Sounds a bit odd, but it's a good way to get out with the stuff.
Very well. All right, if we all get dressed up then, and we can try and sneak past. Who's carrying the rope?
What rope do we have?
150 feet.
Is that just one length?
3 lengths. 3 lengths, 50 feet.
Well,
Standard Dungeons and Dragons units.
Well, I'm sorry to say that we're all getting roped into this.
aye, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Is it bard? Anyway,
Alright then.
I'm gonna put a cloak over myself and drape one of the coils of rope just around my neck, hanging it off my shoulders. I'm gonna try to tuck the drift globe kind of under the cloak and keep it kind of pressed against my body.
Okay.
Are you really bringing that
Oh, you're
with
bringing it with
us?
you?
Yeah, I'm bringing the drift globe with me. I mean, I can't see in the dark, Barham, and this really helps.
But we're trying to sneak past a sleeping creature. I think maybe having an enormous ball of floating light on your person is maybe not going to help.
How big is it? I thought it
Besides,
was
it's
like
obviously cursed.
How-
He's got a bag of 2 bolts, actually.
It's about 30 centimeters, which would make it about 1 foot across. And then the other one that is slightly smaller is about 15 centimeters, so it's about half the size. And it's not as highly elevated in the air.
You know,
so that's easy enough for me to have like put my cloak around it. I'm just sort of I'm feigning pregnancy.
Oh, well, I am sure the rock will see you, be fooled, and take mercy.
I better practice my best. Oh, just don't mind me.
You know, your stomach is actually glowing, right?
Not as brightly as if I just let it out on its own.
miracle of childbirth. Truly.
Come on. Let's go home.
Home?
Right.
Well. Here's hoping.
Okay, so you make your way up onto the top of the cliff again. You've got 2 options. You can either try kind of climb down the side of the cliff, which goes down maybe 70, 75 feet, down onto some like fairly rough looking rock at the bottom of this fall, or you can chance trying to sneak around the rock's lair and crawl down the side of the mountain the way that you came back up. Sorry, the way that you came up in the first place. So how would you like to proceed?
Well, honestly, I'm not really a good climber, but I'm not really very sneaky either. So,
What if we
go
climb
between
and
a
we rope
rock
you
and a
up?
hard place, eh?
Surrounded by bots. What time of morning is it? Is it like dawn or?
Yeah, it's about 7 a.m.
And
because of the unusual nature of this planet, dawn is always 7, and night is always 7.
Well, what do you reckon, Ishmael? Should we climb, or should we make a run for it?
if what I think is what I think, we probably don't have long before this bird's gonna wake up on its own accord. So we could be halfway through sneaking past, and the next thing you know, you're face to face with kind of wet, shiny eye just staring right at you, attached to a hungry mouth.
Equally, we could be halfway down a bloody cliff and have it pick us off one by one, defenseless.
It's a shame the feathers aren't bigger. Maybe you could just grab one and paraglide down, but I think it's gonna help much.
Tell you what, after you. I mean, maybe we could all climb on its back, wait till it wakes up and takes off somewhere.
You know, you may be small, but I don't think you're that light.
Might notice us doing that, unless you want to try to lasso the rock, tie it down. But as soon as the rope hits it, I'm pretty sure it's gonna wake up.
Sorry,
Perhaps
I
we shouldn't
realise
stand here.
dwarf and deadpan humour doesn't really translate well. No, I was being facetious.
Okay, guys, I'm going to ask you for a decision. We kind of have a split vote here. So, do you want to make the climb down the mountain, or do you want to try and sneak past a rock? Or the third option on the table is to go back inside and wait for it to leave. Ishmael reckons it'll be about an hour.
Tell you what, if it's only an hour, maybe it is worth just waiting it out.
Good.
We've still got some beer left.
It's true.
All right, I guess.
If we do decide to go now, I fancy our chances going down the side of them. We have all this rope. Perhaps we could tie it off and kind of, shimmy our way down.
I suppose with the rope, it wouldn't be too hard to climb.
But we could just wait, have another drink or two, and hope that it hunts further away from the nest.
Well, I imagine any other creature with an ounce of sense would give this place a wide berth.
Honestly, personally, I'm quite a fan of, impending doom and a stiff drink, so perhaps we go back inside and wait, yeah?
All right.
Ah,
Refill my
very
cup.
well. Back
Okay.
inside it is. Quietly.
So, adventurers drop back down inside, and now, having been out in the sunlight in the day, the darkness feels a bit thicker and a bit heavier because your eyes had adjusted to the light. And the hour goes by, and the beer by this point is starting to turn a little bit on the sour side, but it's still doing its job. So you will get your chosen bonus, be that your
Oh
extra
no,
AC or your.
sorry to game on you, but that only works an hour after it's first created.
Oh, fair enough. Thank you. Now I know a new thing, and now so do our like 6 viewers.
Fun.
Those are followers.
Shh. Or that. It's all. Remember, we love all of you, and if you could like and subscribe and ring the bell notification at the bottom corner of the
God.
screen, you help us all out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Please,
I
God,
know,
give
I
my
know at
life
least
some
for the,
meaning.
yeah, I know at least for the first while, it's just gonna be like me and my mammy that watch it, but
Oh my god. Validate our existence.
Hey, Mom.
Yeah.
Rashida,
But
you need to
anyway,
trade out your harmonica for a cowbell every time we have a ring the bell.
What harmonica? I don't have a harmonica.
yeah, apparently she hides it in her armpit. Right, so your hour goes by, and despite the occasional unusually tuneful fart that is coming from Rashida's general direction, nothing overly eventful goes by until you do hear the kind of whoosh of large wings beating, and only assume is the rock leaving the area.
Well, that sounds like our cue to make an exit.
Let's go to Sunny.
Well, give me a perception check.
Who?
Who's
Who went
putting their
out
head up?
first?
Who went out first? Although, you know what? I am perfectly fine to say all of you give me a perception check because it makes sense that, you come out, there was a giant bird, you'd have a look. So you can all make a perception check.
Okay. 13.
Just as well, all these are doing it.
And somehow, oh, there it is. I thought Rashida only had a plus sign.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. 1, Kate, please turn off your guidance. 2,
Wait.
Yep.
Why is that on?
It's in Roll20. If you go into the settings tab on the compendium, there's all of these tick boxes. Turn them on.
Yeah.
Gives you the option. Go back to core. Scroll down. It's on the bottom left-hand side of the screen underneath tool proficiencies.
Oh, well,
Guidance.
well, yeah, no, that was not meant to be there. All right, thank you.
Nope.
All good.
No problem. I finally learned how to actually use Roll20, but I still hate power cards. They're too much faff. But besides the point, you wander around up here for a while, and Ishmael, looking out long into the distance, you can see it's maybe 500 yards away now. The rock is heading out to sea, the south, in a southerly direction from where you're currently stood. And now that you're on the top of this mountain, looking further out, you can get a better look at where it is that you may be. You're high enough up that you can see quite a distance away. And all the way, yep, you are down here. You're on what's called Ruin Crag Tower. And then all the way to the north of this map, that looks like it's the island of Nota, which is the nearest landmass that you know to be inhabited.
Oh, well,
South to get back to where we dropped off our boat and stuff, right?
southwest from here.
Well, it
Not
looks
far
like
though.
we gotta travel as the rock flies, pick up our stuff, and the out.
Ishmael,
Hmm.
you
Actually,
Still
reckon this
quite
is...
a way north to Nota, which, I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but I think Nota's our best bet. They have a port there. We can get on a proper ship, get back to the mainland and away from all this water.
Ishmael,
with making it to the mainland.
Ishmael, do you reckon that the weather stays stable and not troublesome out here?
Weather.
On the sea, that
I'll
is.
I'll look at the clouds.
No, the weather in the stormwater is notorious for its nature of being stormy water.
No. I reckon we're gonna have a hell of a time.
No, it's
You
not
know,
like we're
I
already in
think
hell.
there's no way we're going to row from here to Nota. It's miles and miles and miles. I think our best bet. I mean, again, you're the sailor man, Ishmael, but I think our best bet is to rig up some sort of sail, right?
We can rig up a sail in our little boat. Could try to get the big boat in the cave back out. The mouth of that cave where that ship entered, it does actually open out into the sea, not too far away from where we made land in the first place.
Mm.
So I don't know if we can get our boat fully in there and then push out through the cave, but maybe the ship that's already in there had kind of life raft or a dinghy that we just didn't see.
I
Good.
don't know. It looked pretty
Better.
rotten from where I was stood, but we may be able to salvage enough to rig up a sail on our little boat.
We did find
I
the
don't
flag.
know.
Yeah, it's just a matter
Or
of
maybe extend it a bit. We could build like what do they call them? You'll know.
like a pontoon
Like
boat or something.
side. Yeah, I like build little side bits out. Keep us a little more stable if it gets stormy.
Do. Well, let's go back to the cave, see what we can salvage, and decide our next course there.
Well, our other option is to tame a rock and fly back, but I don't think I'll be very keen on doing that.
Hmm.
Speaking of which, I think we should get as far away from this nest as possible.
Aye.
Wise idea.
Although those eggs would make a mighty omelette.
We're not eating rock eggs. We don't want more trouble.
Yeah, I know. I was kidding. Although,
Were you though?
imagine the omelette. Imagine it.
I don't think
I'll
that's a
roll
felony.
an egg back down this cliff if you want, but that's gonna be, yolk on your face.
Quite. Let's get out of here.
Okay. The descent down the mountain goes as quiet as the descent up it did. You come back, you find as you're passing the carcass of the dolphin that you'd encountered before. It does look like it's been scavenged a bit further. However, because it's quite cold here, there's probably still some good meat on it. If you want to go ahead and take some rations from there, you'll be able to get probably 3 days worth for each of you out of it, and it'd still be, you know, sorry, I do apologize. That was awful. The meat would be of consistent quality that you'd be able to get about 3 days rations out of before you risk it becoming too putrid and risking food poisoning or that kind of thing. Should you decide you want to take it. Other than that, the actual journey itself back to the cave where your little boat had been set up was quite quiet. You get there and you do find your warlock still cuddling his little hand axe made out of an anchor. You know, he's truly both terrifying and adorable. And
Seriously,
coming
yeah.
back in, because the water level has now gone down since the tide has gone out since the last time that you were here. It's exposed that there is a bit more of the ship than there was before. You can see that the water has emptied one of the under hull. Sorry, so you've got the hull, and then you've got the cabin that will be below the hull. That's now emptied out of water. And having a look around in here, it's damaged, but it's certainly passable. You find a small dinghy sail that you think you could attach to your own vessel.
That up. I will, as we passed by the dolphin, have carved off some meat.
I think you're right. I mean,
And
it does smell a little suspect, but it's better than starving. I've eaten worse in my time,
We can't afford one
especially
cookie.
after a few gallons of good ale.
eat it raw. Yeah, it's fine. It's quite nice actually. I yeah, I quite like it.
Suppose the main downside of this being freshwater is we can't salt it.
I don't feel as if salting it in ocean water is too good of an idea either.
Well, it'll stop it going bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of bacteria in this, or bacteria. What is bacteria? But there's a lot of bad stuff in the water too, I imagine.
Salt does a lot of good, you know.
Yeah, it's not just salt though.
It'll put hairs on your chest.
I don't feel as if that's something that I strive for, really.
See, that's the problem with humans. You don't appreciate your
Too li-
natural gifts.
Too little hair?
Too little hair,
What,
and no appreciation of those who have it.
Talking about, I've got some nice facial hair.
Aye, for a child. No
No.
offense.
oh my god.
Anyway, before I eat all of this dolphin, let's get this sail out of the ship.
Aye, I mean, you're the expert. I'll take your direction and assist where I can. You know, I've got not a bad hand for craftsmanship, but obviously you've far more experience.
I think we get the sail out. We just put it in our ship, carry it all together back out to where we made land, and put it together there instead of putting it together here and then carrying something that's going to be not very well balanced.
No, that makes sense. All right.
Maybe put it together under the covers as much tree cover as we can, just in case that rock's still scouting around. We don't want to be right on the beach.
Do we need any wood or any parts from this boat before we set off?
You know, one idea is if we could make some sort of cover if it starts raining. Bring a plank or something to hold over our heads.
Oh, we got this
Plank.
flag still.
That's true.
Doesn't look terribly waterproof.
No, but
It's better than nothing. If we get just a stick or something, we just mount it up so it becomes a little tent.
It would be lighter than building an entire cabin on the dinghy. I mean, we want to use as much of the wind power as we can, and the heavier the ship, the harder going it's going to be.
Hmm. No, true. We need to make haste. This isn't going to be our home for very long. Soon we'll be back on Nota in a proper inn with a proper fire and a proper bed.
A proper ale. No offense.
I am quite offended.
It's only because of the water that you've been having to use hasn't been the best. I'm sure if you had crystal clear, glacial spring water, it would be fantastic.
No,
But we've had
that is fair. Although I have to say, after a couple of days drinking it, the dungeon gunk did lend a certain something to the brew.
You know, I
oh
was
no,
just gonna
it's
mention that the taste of the stone wasn't as appreciated as the actual ale, but the ale itself was quite nice, overlooking the granite part or whatever stone that was.
yeah, it was like a nice goose. But I don't know, maybe you keep your trademark on dungeon. I kind of think there's a market for that.
Drinking in dungeons.
Back at the brewery, there was this mad old monk who used to go on about he had this ambition to turn the entire freshwater sea in which we now dwell to beer. Can you imagine?
Imagine how the plains folk down,
Imagine how
where the
all the dead.
sea began might have a bit of something to say about.
No,
Can
he
fish
saw it
breathe?
as the ultimate expression of Anseeth's will, but I mean, most of the clerics thought he was quite mad.
Okay, but can fish
He'd had one
breathe in
too
ale?
many.
I don't know if fish can breathe in ale, so wouldn't it just become a giant ale ocean that smells of rotten fish with dead fish
I
floating
mean,
about?
it's mostly water, so I don't see why not.
Huh. Maybe you're right. Maybe they
They
just be
just
very
have a
drunk.
merry old time of being a fish.
I've never seen a fish drunk.
Suppose if you
Ishmael,
were to
have you?
fish a drunk fish, no.
Oh,
But I suppose if you were to fish out a fish from a sea made entirely of alcohol, it would be remarinated.
Hmm,
you know.
imagine the flavour. But for now, we best get this boat down to the beach so we can get back to Nota and have a proper cooked meal.
Great, I'm getting hungry, and talking about all this food, there's not going to be
Mm.
any dolphin for the rest of us if we keep on talking about proper meat.
Well,
No, well, once we get down to the seafront, I can, sort us out some lunch.
sounds
Sounds
like an
good.
idea.
Let's grab whatever scrap we can, whatever we can carry, and if we can't make use of it before we cast off, then we just leave it on the beach.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. The plan goes remarkably well, and the island itself is fairly deserted. Your idea of moving through the trees was a good one, but by now, casting your eye around, if the rock is nearby, it's moved far out of sight. Getting back down to the beach is a little bit more difficult than it was coming up. The ice has made it slightly treacherous. That formed over the course of the night, but you get there. You have enough to rig up a kind of jury-rigged sail system. You reckon you're not going to have to row anymore, but it's not going to be able to go as far as a normal boat would. But you still think you could cover a good 80 miles a day.
Aye. Well, this is a grand vessel you've made, but honestly, I'd rather not sleep in it if I don't have to. Maybe our best bet is to go from little island to little island rather than making a straight run for Nota.
Probably, right?
If you look to the northwest, there's a little rock there. I mean, there can't be anything too dangerous on that. It's too small. I reckon.
On
We
last
may be able to.
small island we were on, we were attacked by hags.
Was it? I thought.
Sea Hag.
Oh, was that? I thought that was the one to the east. I may have been turned around in the night.
Well, I think it was, but it was still a little rock of an island.
Well, I mean, we put paid to them fairly soundly. You know, maybe they're still stayed away. We can
Man,
go back that way.
I spent a good portion of that unconscious, so I can only take your word for it.
Well, I mean, you were only out for a minute or two. You know,
You know, speaking of which, how's your head
you
feeling
didn't
right
miss
now?
much.
No, I'm sore but healing.
All right. As good as we
That
can do.
spider had a mean bite to it as well.
Yeah, how are you, Borum?
I mean, I've been better, to be honest. I could do with a rest. I'm stiff as a board. But you know, generally speaking, I'm in pretty good spirits. You know,
No doubt the
we
alcohol.
none of us have died. You know, that's a look up. We've still got good drinking, and you know, we're surrounded by fresh water, out of which I can make a near endless supply of glorious beer. So life could be a lot worse.
And I do agree that we should head as far north as we can. So maybe do head to that little island that we can see out in the northwest.
Hmm.
And
Right.
kind of keep on making our ways as far north as we can.
Yeah, I mean, we got
Makes
the flag
sense.
to cover us from the sun and stuff, so we should be okay, right?
Yeah, I mean, a day at a time, we should be all right. A day's sun didn't kill anyone. Well, except
No,
for maybe a
but
vampire.
Is your intention to take the full day's travel, get your 100 miles, it will get you to the next island north? Or do you want to take slightly longer but slightly safer route of taking the 60-mile journey to end up on the island to the northwest?
Well, we don't want to get caught out in a storm. I think short as safe as is best.
I agree
I
on
can't
that.
argue with that.
Wait. We did bring our friend with us, didn't we? Where did you put him?
Oh, he's in the boat.
Okay, good.
I chucked him in there while you guys were packing.
Yeah, I think it's
we
probably good to go safe when we have, you know, a passenger that is not very present at the moment.
I
Although, strangely enough, when we got back, I checked him, and he appears to have eaten some of his rations and then gone back to sleep.
All right, so who who poisoned him? Like, surely this can't be natural.
Don't know. Maybe he ate a bad fish.
All right, well, things are still gonna be as they are, so we can only.
I don't know. You know, warlocks. Maybe he's communing with his unholy master in some way. I don't know.
While spooning an anchor.
Well, I mean,
do it. I mean, I don't know
you
many
seem to get
warlocks.
quite attached to it.
You know, does that mean that we can throw the anchor somewhere and have him be anchored to that place?
Well,
I'm
the
not gonna risk
seabed.
a man's life. Yeah.
No, come on. Just
Tie him up like
he's
a
in the
dog?
boat. He'll be fine.
Oh, no doubt. Hopefully.
You know, maybe he's got folks back in on the mainland who'll pay a pretty penny for saving his life. Look at it that way.
I'm not exactly approving of selling people, but whatever floats your boat,
I'm
I
not
suppose.
saying we sell him. I'm saying his family will give us a reward for saving his life.
Okay then. Sounds great. You have fun with that.
God, you jumped right to slavery, didn't you? Jeez.
Well, usually when someone brings up having a pretty penny in turn for their loved ones, or in turn for a living being, usually that is what my mind would go to, yeah.
Well, I think that says more about you than it does about me. But for now,
We're losing
let's set
daylight.
sail.
You sail out over the waters, and they're for a place that's been called the Stormwaters, it's a fairly smooth journey. At one point, you do see a notoriously large jellyfish that your small vessel passes right over for several minutes before you pass along the full
Jesus.
length of the creature.
Bottom that
Eventually, you come up onto this small little island that you can see two fairly large tents out of, and you can hear the faint sound of drumming.
Is it friendly drumming or
Is it
like
good drumming?
war drumming?
in comparison to evil drumming.
Is it
It's
funky?
kind of got a little bit of like a pina colada boomtown had a little bit of acid vibe.
Okay, so it sounds fun. It doesn't sound like warring tribes.
No, it doesn't sound particularly like warring tribes.
That is
Okay.
very specific.
Maybe we want to beep that reference.
That is extremely specific.
I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So good.
I don't think enough people will catch on, and we're just mentioning it. It's not gonna. That shouldn't be a problem.
It's fine. Cool. So, as you come up onto the beach, you're in your little rowboat, and you can see that there are three, kind of 7 foot tall blokes wearing what looks like large shields on their back, but they're kind of hunched over a little bit. They all seem to be communing to one another in slow, deep voices.
As we sort of get up onto the beach, Borum will sort of turn to us and be like, I assume we're going to play this friendly, right?
We're not being a threat, so yes.
All right, then. Hail there, friends.
Oh, okay.
Hello, travelers.
What's the occasion?
Pleasure to meet you, sir. I, myself, am Borum, sometimes known as the Brewer, traveller, searcher, experiencer of fine ales, and creator of such too. My two companions here are Ishmael, man of the sea, and Rashida, woman of
Let's see.
Please end that sentence, Bottom. I'm very curious.
fine, upstanding repute.
Good save.
And she plays a mean harmonica.
What is harmonica?
I am Kepi. I am a druid here. These are my sons, Im and Untol. He gestures to the two. Now that you can see them, they're a bit broader than he is, a bit more powerfully built, but they seem friendly enough. And their tents are set up, but there's a nice smell of spices coming off something that's cooking in the background. They go, "What brings you to our little troubled island?"
Well, in truth,
The robots.
we were wrecked in a storm a couple of days hence. Well, a few days hence now. And we managed to scrabble ourselves together, this fine vessel you see behind us, and some small amount of supplies, and we're trying to make for Nota to the northeast of here. You know the place?
Ah, we know Nota. We know Nota. But if you are wrecked, you've probably not been fed. Let's have that sorted. Let's have that sorted. And kind of waves to one of the boys. They come back with 3 piping hot bowls of what appears to be some kind of like vegetable and fish curry. There's a lot of kind of tamaricky and hashwari, kind of that slightly nutmeggy smell.
Oh, that
Fine.
is pungent. I am much obliged. It's been quite some time since I had a meal that smelled this good.
We tried this. We were wanting to make a new breeding ground, and the hot springs here seemed like a good alternative, but The Bullywugs have taken over, and we cannot leave our eggs here, for they may eat them.
A bullywug? I'm afraid I'm not familiar with these particular vagrants.
A bullywug is like a frog that can walk and talk, much like I am like a turtle that can walk and talk. But the
Hmm.
problem is we don't speak their language and they won't go back in their cave.
We tangled with some fish people on a couple of islands back. They seemed quite mean, I must say, led by some dreadful hag. Almost did for our friend here, Ishmael, but we put paid to them, and God's willing, maybe we can help you with your strange fish people problem.
Well, like
Right,
frog
fellas?
person, but yeah, and amphibious and not. I mean, for more of this stew, I'd be more than willing to head over there and see what we can do.
We
Exactly.
can do more than that. We can give you one of our vessels if you want to get onto something more stable than what you have, and it will give you space enough to get you to Nota and back in 2 days. And then my son will come back with the boat and you can make your own way on to wherever you wish to go after that.
Well, that does
Sounds,
sound like a very fine offer.
yeah, more than fair.
It's very generous.
No, what do you... Yeah. Well, how many of these fish people, these
These bullywugs.
bullywugs? Yeah, how many of them are there? Just so we know.
There is 8 or 9 of them, but they are not really the problem. It is more the problem that they won't go back in their cave. We just need the hot springs for the hot sand to lay our eggs. So we don't want to make war, but we do need them to move home.
I mean, can they speak, as we are now?
They do not speak the common tongue, but they can speak. But none of us can speak their language, so we cannot. How do you say? We cannot parley.
What language is that? Do you know?
I believe they have their own language. They speak Bullywug, but
Yeah.
blessed with the natures of the nature rather than that of a deity. So I do not have access to the, I believe, an ability, a spell called Comprehend Languages.
No, I'm quite
Blessed
familiar with it. I myself am blessed with such an ability. It was mostly out of curiosity that I asked, to be honest. But no, the communication with these beasts should not be too much of a problem. It's whether they're willing. Is there anything you know they want?
They claim to want their cave back, or we think they want their cave back. For in the past years when we have come here, they would lay their spawn in the cave underground, and we would use the soil around the hot springs, and there was no problem. But now they've left their cave and moved to the hot springs, and we don't know why.
Probably something that's more vicious than they are.
Oh, we don't know
Nah.
that they're vicious, and failing some comprehend languages, if that's what it's called. Most creatures of any intelligence sort of figure out pantomime, we could show them that we're willing to help.
Well, I mean, like I said, I can in fact communicate with these beasts. It shouldn't be too difficult. But
Oh. Curious to see how that works, actually.
it's
What?
what they want and whether we can deal with it. But I suppose we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Aye.
Is there anything else that usually resides on this island besides the bullywugs and yourselves during this time?
It's only us. No one else lives here, so it's a safe hatchery.
Sorry. Could you repeat your friends' names? I seem to have not caught.
Im and Untorl.
Im.
They are my sons. They are one
Unrelated.
of 762 that I have had in the last 300 years.
That
Is their first hatching.
is mighty impressive. I would not have put you a day over 50.
We age different than you do. Takes a long time to become adult, and then we are adult for a long time. Only elves and sometimes dwarves live longer than us.
Are
I have
you?
not met a 300-year-old dwarf since I left the brewery. There were a couple of the real old hands that had reached that kind of age, but most
They
of them
are
go a bit funny after a while.
they are rarer these days.
You seem remarkably lucid, for which I compliment you, sir.
Well,
So are the three of you just a
the
landing
nature
party
of
then?
being a druid gives me some advantage. Yes, we are here first to be sure that everything is secure, and then the rest will come. They will migrate from the Stern Quay all the way across here through the straits to lay their eggs. For laying eggs on the soil controlled by the dragon is not safe.
So there's a dragon as well. Is that on the Stern K?
Yes, the Stern Quay is a remarkable place. It was once a fortress built atop a mountain before the water came. But when the water came, the town below it was all flooded. So now it is just a fortress that juts out from the middle of the lake. It has been taken over by the suzerain of blue dragons.
Well, that sounds like a terrible situation. And I suppose anything we can do to
It is a
help the
precarious
continuance of your noble
situation, but
people will, be our honor, I'm sure, right, fellas?
Yeah, definitely.
Happy to
For
help.
the rest of your family and friends, I'm supposing, are you to issue word for them to come to this island, or are they just on
yes.
their way and are about to be met with an unfortunate surprise?
No, I am sent here ahead, for I have learned to use the sending spell to communicate with our great matron, and when the island is ready, they will start their migration.
How much
Hmm.
time do we have on us?
Yeah,
A few
is
weeks.
Oh. Let's hope
Well,
we
and
have
more time than
salt before then.
we're wanting to spend here, I'm sure.
well, how
Um,
long does it take to travel to here from the Stern K?
On the turtle ships, maybe 40 days. So they would need to leave in a few weeks to get here before the end of winter. And then they have all spring, all summer, all autumn, and at the end of next winter, the eggs hatch.
Turning to Borum and
Summer of
Roger then.
fun.
I think to give our new friends their best chance, we should probably deal with these bullywugs as soon as possible. And I think that would be in our best interest as well, so that we can make our way to Nota.
I'd much rather go in a vessel more, becoming of 3 people and a sleeping comrade.
So I agree. I can't even like feign giving our little vessel a name. It's just not seaworthy enough to warrant that.
We can name her the Disappointment.
I mean, no,
I don't mind the
that's just not
disappointment.
fair. I mean, let's be fair. She saved our skin. I mean, she may have been a prison for a while, but she was also a savior. I feel she deserves something a little better than that.
Your ship is humble, but it got you this far. So maybe the Perseverance is the name.
Aye, mysterious voice. The Perseverance. How does that sound?
Sounds familiar.
Hmm.
That's odd.
That sounds very.
It
How
is
so?
inspired by something that I heard, a tale of walking through stars.
I don't mind the perseverance. I mean, when you put it that way,
We can tow it with you if you want behind our boat when you leave, and you can fix it and maybe make it into a nicer vessel.
Well, I mean, it's still little more than a dinghy. I think.
You know,
I think maybe leaving it here as a shrine to the gods who saw us through this ordeal is probably our best bet.
we can give it a proper ending. One
Here,
worthy
hang
of
on.
having cedar skins.
Here, hang on. Ishmael, Rashida, help me hold this up onto the beach. Stick it up on its end, and I'll carve a likeness of Anseath into the reverse side, and it can stand here as a shrine to him forever, for the glorious gift of beer that he gave us.
representing you, though, Borum.
Let's haul the boat.
And yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna haul the boat up to somewhere around here-ish, stick it up on its end, and then Borum's gonna spend,
Okay.
not too long, but
Um,
carving a sort of a rudimentary image of the god Hanseath with any sharp tool that one of the Tortles will lend him, and
know,
and then a little sort of a sort of tankard, which is the image of like the holy seal of Hanseath.
it is probably wise to bring the boat up on shore regardless, so that our, napping friend doesn't drift off into the ocean.
I'm pretty sure he's
Well,
been
it's not
rolled out
drifting
onto the
anywhere
beach
now.
now. Yeah, why don't you take
Okay,
Orgrim up to the fire so we can get warm? We keep leaving him out in the elements.
No,
And-
we'll leave him with these here. Sorry, Sir Druid, Mr. Turtle. Hello.
yes, Mr. Dwarf.
Would it be all right with you while we go and deal with your bullywog problem? Could you look after our friend here? I don't know if he ate something funny or just the shock of the situation has gotten to him, but he's been in a sort of semi-catatonic state for the last few days. But we feel it would be immoral to just leave him to die. So I'm going to take him back to Nota with us. So could you look after him? Just, keep him warm. If he
I will
stirs, give him a little water or something.
kind of nods gently and takes a long drag out of his pipe, and he goes, I will make sure your sleeping friend does not stir too far from here.
He's fairly agreeable.
As
Do
agreeable as
you
an
need
unconscious person can be.
directions to the hot springs?
Well, I'm sure it won't hurt. I mean, we'd probably find it fairly quickly. This place isn't big, but save us a job.
Yes, you follow the ridge of palm trees around the edge of the island. That will go uphill a little bit, and you will start to hear bubbling water. Follow the sound of the bubbling water, and you will get there. It is no more than 2, maybe 3 miles. If you've gone more than that, you've gone too far.
And presumably we'll wind up back in the sea.
Pretty much.
There's
This
not many places
is
to
not
go.
the biggest place.
As
Alright,
they're
well,
talking to the turtle, I'm going to crudely carve Time Mora was here underneath the imagery of Hansi.
No
Because
problem.
I need some representation on the Perseverance as well.
fair.
Not a problem. Not a problem, Ishmael. Let's make sure to
Uh,
get your name in there. So,
Before we go, Mr. Druid, you mentioned that you had the sending spell. I too have this, well, or a simplified version of it at least. If maybe you could check in on us in a couple of hours. Just if we're not back, use this message spell on myself, and just we'll let you know what the situation is.
no problem. I can do that in a few hours. It is not many words, though. Maybe 20, 25 that you can reply with.
Oh, I know.
But
I mean,
I will send you word at sunset to see how you are.
ah, that'd be good. Just just in case things are more complicated than they first appear.
That is a good idea, wise and short ginger furry man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Rashes is gonna also laugh in the background at that.
All right then. If you two have done scranning this lovely food, it's probably time we made a move to these hot springs.
Yeah, that's
Let's go for it, man.
Although maybe if there's any bits of gear or whatnot that you're missing, maybe these folk have something they can lend you.
yeah.
We have some basic hunting and weapons, but we do not wear armor. We have our own.
Well, quite so. And I must say, I'm not a little jealous.
It means no matter where we go, somewhere warm and dry follows us.
No, I can sympathise with that myself. Like your own little cave.
And if nothing else, look, it is a good place to hide things. And he pulls his arm back into his shell and pops out with a little bottle of brandy. He goes, "You come back, we share my shell brandy." His
Oh,
arm back
I've
in.
got a surprise for you. If we make it back alive, we're gonna have a hell of a party on this beach.
I will hope we will have the drums, and you can bring the beer.
Yeah, quite so. You don't even know the half of it.
If we're lucky, we won't
And
have to
with
serve
that-
it in a rock hole.
And with that last little slight comment about where our Rockhole beer is going to be going from today, that will be ending the first of tonight's episodes. We will be coming back in about 15 minutes for another sort of 45 minutes, half hour to finish up what's going on this island, find out what's going on with our Bullywugs. For those of you who are on Twitch, we will be back very shortly. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube, we will see you in a few days. Don't forget, hit that like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, notification, whatever any of these things do.
Give me validation!
Yeah, pretty much. I
Validate the ginger furry man.
Yes.
This is the second part of our encounter with the Tortles and Bullywugs. Our group of companions have recently left the Tortles campsite. They followed the route around, and we join them now again as they're just cresting the hill, following the sound of bubbling water and faint croaking that's coming down to a small valley with several pleasantly warm springs emitting fairly fragrant steams coming out of them. A lot of fresh scent of kind of slightly salty air, a little bit of sulfur in on the background of it, but it's all natural in essence.
Ugh. It's kind of making me want a boiled egg. Well,
What is
maybe
with you and
after we're done
eggs?
with this. Oh, yeah. I think I see one of those frog people. Yeah, give me a moment with that. Borum casts comprehend languages on himself.
So the din in the background changes from just kind of croaking to a more nasally language of, "Oh, these hot springs aren't really going to do. They're going to cook any eggs that we lay into them. We're going to have to find some way to get that bloody priest out of our cave."
Borum's going to quickly turn to the other two and just be like, sounds like they're muttering about something about a priest in the cave. I think we should. Yeah, no, I don't know beyond that, but they don't seem very happy being here. So getting them to move shouldn't be too much of a problem, hopefully.
Depends on the priest.
Mr. Frogman, excuse me there.
Oh, you speak bullywug?
Well, I do for now. It's kind of a long story, but let it be said that I am blessed by the gods, and so I can communicate with you thusly.
We got to deal with another priest now.
Oh, no, don't worry. I'm not here to cause you trouble. I couldn't help but overhear that you've been turfed out of your cave by, well, as you say, a priest of some sort.
Yeah, ugly looking fella. He's got like 4 sets of teeth around his mouth.
Well, that doesn't sound like any kind of priest I know.
Yeah, 2 legs, tall, long hair. All humans look the same.
But with a lot more teeth.
Except that one, he's got no hair. Well, yes, but I don't know. He's got more teeth than I do. I've only got none.
Well, I suppose, yeah. Do you have any idea why this individual is occupying your cave?
No, but he's got nasty long claws, and anytime we've tried to go in there, he just chases us back out. So now we're stuck here with nowhere to lay eggs.
And that is causing a problem for some other locals currently down on the beach, the Tortles. Because this is where they normally lay their eggs, see? So they're a little concerned.
Well, they can have this place back if we can have our cave back.
Well, that does sound like a fair exchange, and perhaps we can help you with that. Is there anything else you can tell us about this priest with the nasty claws and teeth who lives in the cave?
Yeah.
Now,
He really likes to talk about the sea. And he can speak Aquan, a fish language.
He sounds like he might be one of them Kraken priests. They're a dangerous breed. If it is one of them. Give me one moment. Barm's gonna turn back to Ishmael and Rashid and just be like, long and short of it, yeah, there seems to be some sort of rogue priest occupying their cave, going on about the sea. Got a feeling he might be a Kraken priest, but it's just a hunch beyond the fact that we're in the middle of the ocean and it's a mad priest going on about the sea with a lot of teeth and claws. So he sounds a little dangerous, but they're willing to move back into their cave if they can, and that will solve all our problems. So maybe going after this priest is our best bet. We may be able to reason with him. He seems to be able to speak at least.
Can't have much luck reasoning with any other priests recently.
Well, I like to think myself fairly reasonable.
Well, I don't consider you a priest.
Well, maybe you should, because it's my job.
So, if I ask you to hold the sermon, you would do it?
Well, I mean, I preach to you lot all the time about the value of beer and the drinking of it. I provide you with the holy sacraments each morning. I feel I've been doing my duty backwards and forwards.
Yeah, to be fair, I do quite appreciate the means to forget. But
I do agree with that. You are far more than just a very dutiful bartender. I'm sorry. You are the finest priest that I've ever come across, and I'll clap Barham on the back.
Sadly, however, I don't think the priest...
I can take a joke, Ishmael. It's all right.
But anyway,
I doubt the priest that you mentioned is serving beer.
No, probably not. He probably has nothing but salty reprimands.
Yeah, but did these Bullywugs have anything else to say? Because I mean, it's a fair bit of croaking on my ears.
Well, I mean, I asked them for any further information, and they just said he has big claws, big teeth, and he keeps going on about the sea. They don't seem to know much more beyond that. They seem to be fairly focused on their immediate task. Just between us, I don't think they're that smart.
That's a bit crude.
I could go on about the sea for a bit too, so I guess we could try talking, but guess we'll have to see what happens.
They said he speaks Aquan, like fish and that, but
don't really speak Aquan myself.
No, I mean I can communicate with him via the same, godly magics that allow me to communicate with these creatures. But if that doesn't work, I will actually be fairly low on, godly interventions that I can provide. But I still think it's our best bet. If all else fails, we can just beat him into submission and throw him back into the sea where he belongs.
And try not to get clawed like a cat.
Well, yes.
I mean, if your holy keg runs dry, I'd be happy to get your back, so.
All right. Yeah, Mr. Frogman.
Yeah?
Can you point us in the direction of this cave, then? And we'll see if we can get rid of your priestly problem.
500 meters that way.
All right, then.
Just westerly direction.
Well,
so the travel...
Yeah.
Off we go. I'm interrupting you.
No, that you were doing exactly what I was going to say, mysterious voice.
Are you okay there, Bottom?
What?
Stop.
Sorry, I zoned out a little there. Was I talking to myself?
Yes. Shall we move?
Yeah, absolutely.
Lead the way.
So, you travel on for the kind of 500 meters or so that it takes to get there, and there's this small dripping cave entrance that you can hear the sound of lapping water coming out of. It's fairly certain that this is the spot that you were intended to be headed to. Nothing else that you've come across matches the description other than this place. It's wide enough for you to walk into, and it feels like not very far after the entrance it will open up to something wider. The one thing is there's a little bit of a smell of guano coming out of the place. So.
Well, it doesn't smell too good, but I think this is where we're headed.
Well, can you see anything in there?
I don't know. Stick my head in the entrance and see what I can see.
Okay, so you walk into the entrance and kind of 5 or 6 meters back, you round a small bend, opens up into a larger chamber, and there does appear to be a light source coming from slightly to the left of where you are now.
Well, it looks like someone's home. What do you reckon? Should we go in and say hello, or do you want to have a snoop around first?
What we're up against, I don't know how inviting this priest is going to be if we just come knocking on his door.
Perhaps I should stay back a bit and try and stay in the shadows so that if something happens, I can move in and get an advantage.
Could try to creep a little bit forward and see what's in front of us.
Which one of you two feels like they're the sneakiest?
I feel as if I proved myself to be a bit better than you, Ishmael. No offense.
But you're a bit better than me.
At least I'm keeping quiet.
Oh, I mean, you're a bit better than me than, like, arm wrestling, but I don't know about sneaking. But, I mean, by all means, if you have a point to prove.
No, go ahead.
Well, when you two are done fighting, one of you go and have a look what the rates around this corner. See where that light's coming.
I'm gonna
quiet about it.
I'm gonna crouch down this way, peek my head around this corner.
Okay, give me a stealth check. So I will need a stealth check off yourself as you're coming up.
16.
Yeah. Okay, so you come up. You can see this man with his back to you sat on a mat in a room that's lit by a couple of candles, and he appears to be meditating. There's a soft chant in common. It's very reminiscent of a sea chanty that you once knew in terms of its melody and pacing, but the words aren't particularly clear from how far away you are.
There's whisper. There's a bloke up ahead meditating, chanting. I'm gonna see if I can get a little bit closer and see if I can hear what he's saying.
Alright. Sounds like our priest, though. Is there anyone else?
I can't see anyone. Just hold up here to see if I can get a little bit closer. See if I can make out what he's saying.
Don't get spotted.
I'll do my best. Can I come up?
Same again for a stealth check in. You're moving closer.
Nine.
So you make out the first couple of lines of what he's saying, and it goes along the lines of, "The war that came through and drowned all our men. The land is no longer." And he stops, and kind of turns and looks and goes, "Ah, I have a visitor. What brings you to my cave?" And as he turns, you can see he does have kind of 4 long fangs, 2 jutting from the top, 2 jutting from the bottom. And the hand that he gestures out, the fingers are unusually long. They've kind of got 6 inches on the length of an average man's finger, and they're ended with long barbed nails.
Ahoy, hoy. Sorry to intrude. Speaking with the folks outside the cave. They seem to be in a rather tight spot reading and asked us if you and I could have a talk about perhaps relocating.
I would love to relocate, but the plane between worlds will not open. And this is the point that I have found it weakest. So I will wait for the path back home to open again.
Where's home?
You call it the plane of water. I was drawn here many years before you were even a wink in a father's eye, and have been trapped here since the water was pulled through.
What you're saying is what I think you're saying, then that you would have been here a very long time, eh? I don't know if there's anything I
Yes.
can really do to help you return to the plane of water, but doesn't make a whole lot of sense that a cave on an island would be its biggest point.
The spell that caused the inversion, or you call it the calamity, was cast on this island. Beneath its bowels, well, beneath this mountain, really, but beneath the bowels of the sea here is where the storm water comes through from. Till the rift grows. Then I can go home.
I'm here. What have you learned that will help you succeed in this goal?
I am not gifted enough in the arcane to be able to cast magic here. And outside of the plane of my god, I am not granted the gifts that I normally am as a cleric. Elementals don't age here the way that you do. So I must wait.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I can't imagine being trapped in a place that don't belong so long. Is there anything that I could perhaps do to assist?
Unless you are a wizard who can banish me back to where I need to go. And no. I wait or I die. One or the other. And no one yet has come along who has been able to kill me.
Does it happen often?
From time to time.
Well,
You look like I do, and you venture out, and people think you a monster. People think you're a monster long enough. You become one. I wouldn't regret a death. But I also wouldn't go without a fight.
Yeah, Ishmael. Yeah. Let me step in. I've got an idea. Hello there, Mr. Sea Cleric. There.
Kosaka is my name.
Oh, well, Mr. Korsage. I'm Byron. I myself am a cleric too. You know, we walk a similar path, albeit in maybe different directions. But it occurs to me that you mentioned you sought perhaps, a way back to your own plane, and men learned of such magics reside on an island not far from here to the northeast called Nota. And whilst we ourselves don't possess the power to do as you ask, they may well. And obviously, provided you remain as friendly as you are now, I don't see why you couldn't travel with us to Nota and there seek travel back to your own plane.
In violence, unless it is begot upon me. So I will remain friendly, as you say, if we are to travel.
Well, I think you'll find us an agreeable bunch. We've got on well enough between us. And
Not inkling for a fight. I have no qualms with you, and I'd like to help as best I can. I'm sure my friend Boromir, obviously offering passage, friendly types, and seem agreeable.
I'm sure your knowledge of the sea and its, machinations would be very helpful on our voyage.
Yes, I have heard that you like to speak of the sea, and I spent most of my life on it. Perhaps you could teach me a thing or two.
I can answer a great many questions, for where I am from is almost only water. In all
honestly,
directions, in up and down, as well as the cardinal.
it does sound like a bit of a nightmare to myself, as I'm sure you can appreciate, being one of the more grounded races. But if we can get you back to where you feel like you belong, then I'll be glad to assist. And plus, you'd be unblocking a chain of events. The frogmen outside are quite attached to this cave, and that would in turn allow the turtles on the beach to return to their spawning grounds. It would restore a great amount of balance to this world, and in turn return you to your own.
Then let us travel. Without reaching down onto the ground, puts his hands behind his back and walks towards you. He is, now that he's at his full height, he's a full kind of 8.5 feet tall, with arms that go down almost to his kneecaps.
All right, then.
Teach
Pleasure
me
to
that
meet
chant
you.
that you were singing.
It's the story of how my home came to be on your home.
I believe a lot of that story is lost to the ages, so might be wise to have some listening to it.
Sure, there'll be more than a few scholars in Nota who'd want to hear your tale of the events before you return back to your homeland. Not that they'll stop you, of course.
If you can get me home, I will give you my writings. It explains all that I know. This will be my payment.
Well, no payment necessary, but much appreciated.
Aye.
So, well, let's get out of this cave and come back to the beach with us. There's a little celebration waiting, and the food's not half bad. Do you eat in the traditional sense?
Not in the traditional sense, but I do eat.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens when we get there, I suppose. I can make beer too. Do you know beer? It's quite wonderful.
1,200 years in this place, I know what beer is. It is a tantalizing distraction.
Ah,
Beer.
it'll make the journey a little shorter.
Shall we leave?
Ah, quite so. Oh, by the way, this is Rashida. She's another companion of ours.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Thanks. She seems to be the quietest among you.
I only speak when I tend to have things to say, really.
It is a passion that I share. I like Rashida. Is predictable, like the waves. But I'm sure she can be harsh too.
Nearly my arm off doing a little bit of sport the other day, but
See, like I say, harsh.
I believe that's a fair assessment of our good friend Rashida.
He'll walk with you, kind of silently, arms behind his back, paws folded away. Didn't say a great deal unless directly questioned. But he seems to be willing to be nonviolent.
All right. Well, I suppose we'll head back out to the frog people.
Okay, back to the frogs. Before we arrive, it may be best for me to leave these people be. They have come and disturbed my sanctum a great many times, and blood has been shed on both sides, and maybe there is no need for any more, for I do not feel they are the most intelligent of creatures.
No, I share your assessment, but I need to tell them their cave's free. If you two want to head back towards the beach with this one, I'll quickly drop in on the frogs and tell them all's well, and I'll meet you back with the others at the beach.
Sounds like a plan.
I'll read.
I'm not got long on this spell though. We best be quick about it.
I think it'd be fair to say, Kozaka? I can't. Kozaka. That
Anything is fine. You don't have enough tongues.
fair point. I just want to say I believe that perhaps these frog people, on a minor degree, probably feel the same as you do, which might be why there is some shed blood. Suddenly found themselves out of home. Didn't know what to do.
I bear no ill will, for just like I kill my prey, they must do the same. We were enemies, but we don't need to be any longer.
Better to make peace than to make enemies. You live a lot longer that way.
Until you're hungry. Then you have to make an enemy of something.
True.
Even if it's just the fish or the rabbit or the bird. To him, you are still the greatest nemesis.
True.
All right. You're back talking to your frogs.
Hello there, Mr. Frog. Hello.
You're back. Does that mean our cave is back?
It wasn't too much trouble, actually. Little diplomacy gets you everywhere these days. Cave is free. Feel free to move back in as and when you please.
Thank you. He pulls a locket from around his neck and kind of throws it to you, and then they leave and head off and start taking their tents down and moving on without too much more language. You're kind of
Much
fair
obliged.
time has gone past by now. The spell is starting to fade, but it just seems like they're having a bit of a logistical conversation more than anything else.
Well, interesting folk, I suppose. Back to the beach.
So your foursome end up coming back together, and you're greeted by the Tortles and says, "Ah, you have returned with an extra person. Is much sooner than expected. The sun hasn't even gone down yet. I know it is a small island, but are our hot springs safe again?"
There should be. There was, this fella, Mr. Kayakazan. I don't know. It's honestly, none of us can pronounce it.
Kosaka.
Yeah, what she said. He's been trapped here from the elemental plane of water. You know, these things happen. He wants to get home. It was like a thin portion of the veil. Are you familiar with the veil? You know, the source of magic. I'm sure you are. You're a druid. Anyway, it was basically all a big misunderstanding. He's coming with us to Nota, where we're going to sort all of his issues. But yeah, the frog people are moving back into their cave. You can go and lay your eggs in the hot springs and have a jolly old time, and we can get on our way. So, yeah, pretty good day all round. No bloodshed.
We will then bring you on our tortoise ship. It'll take 2 days to get to Nota, but as it is big enough for turtles, you should have no problem with the accommodation. They kind of lead you around the deck a little, or sorry, the shore a little, and there's a small, very Korean-looking vessel where it's laid low in the water with a large. It looks like scales, but upon closer inspection, it seems to be made up of a large number of very large clamshells have been stacked on top of another to make an enclosed vessel with a large sail on the top of it.
Oh, quite ingenious and very elegant. My compliments.
Interesting design.
Stops arrows and dragon fire.
Well,
So,
here's hoping we don't run into any of either.
No, if we do, I suppose we'll have a
The
better
dragon
chance than
turtles
in a
have
wooden
gone
boat.
north. This is very true. Do you want to leave now, or shall we eat and drink and celebrate for tonight first?
Well, I myself would never say no to a little eating, drinking, and celebration. I feel like we deserve it. I don't know about you two.
Let's agree to that. But Kozayaka, what do you say to spending an evening surrounded by merriment instead of one alone in a cave?
One more day is no longer a problem. You have said I will get home. I have waited 1,200 years. I can wait a little longer.
In that case, I think we should have a drink and celebrate the new friends. Safe travels.
Maybe you can sting us some more of those shanties you seem to know so well.
I would be happy to teach them to you, although they have become quite long. That food brought out, some drums start being pattered on. Some of that famous shell brandy that they were offering you is brought around, and there's a little bit of a ritual performed as the druid among the Tortles sends his message home that it is time for the great migration. Someone brings out a very large sea conch, and there's a loud noise, and an evening filled with the most delightfully spicy food you have had in quite some time. Your new friend doesn't seem to partake in any of the food, but he is interested, and he's having small conversations with people here and there, and will answer any questions that you have. I think because of the resolution of everything that's gone on, you've earned yourself a little bit of a reward, and that would bring you all up to level 3. That's going to end it for this second half of tonight's session. We will join next time when everyone is going on a journey towards Nota.